Um, so coming back to our slide of co-creation. So what we have done is the way we have structured this session is we have read through all the questions that you have put up. And there's been a lot of questions. So thank you very much for putting down or taking time to put down whatever questions you have. And we've kind of built up uh, eight categories of questions. So these are the 8 categories of questions. So what we'll do is we'll actually go through each category and see what thoughts we all have and collate those thoughts. And obviously in between, you can ask questions related to that particular uh, group, right? So as you can see these 8 categories on the screen, but people who are not able to see the screen, and let me quickly read them out. So first we'll talk about why open learning or unschooling or homeschooling. And we'll talk about what kind of learning children can do, what kind of curriculum we can draw, what kind of skills we want children to learn. Then we'll talk about what kind of resources, people, support, exposure, places can be brought about. Then we'll talk about what kind of schedule, planning, what kind of environment can we create. Uh, Fifth, we'll talk about the exams, career options, boards and colleges. Uh, then we'll also talk about more about social skills, life skills, um, and soft skills, and how do we work on those. Um, and finally, last two, we can talk about what could be my role as a parent, as a facilitator, what kind of expertise, time is required from my side. And finally, any other challenges or suggestions or thoughts that we have. Yep. So we'll go through all of these. So just a request: when we are covering one section, try not to ask questions which belongs to another section. So we'll cover all of them, right? So there will be a space for all the questions. Obviously, the last category takes care of any question which is not covered with the first 7. So don't worry. We'll try and see if we can cover all the questions. Yeah. So I hope you're good with this format. And just one request: if you are speaking on the mic, then please share your name. If you are using the chat, we'll anyway know your name. So you can feel free to use chat or voice, whatever you are comfortable with. Yeah. Okay. So let's start. The first question obviously is why? Why do this? There is already a conventional education system that is existing. So why bother about open learning, unschooling, homeschooling? So I want you to share. You can share using chat. You can share using voice. Voice, just be crisp. Share why. What are the benefits? So a lot of some of you have asked, hey, what are the pros and cons? So right here, let's talk about what are the pros. We'll go ahead and see what are the cons a little later. Let's start with why we would want to do this. In a way, why are you here? Somewhere you are interested in open learning and unschooling and homeschooling. So you are here. So why? So please go ahead, share. Why would you like to do this? Okay, and as you share, I'll try to add your points on the slide. Okay. Um, right, somebody's saying creativity, okay, flexibility. Maybe you can elaborate flexibility in what? Okay, yeah, somebody's saying freedom. I'm assuming you mean freedom to choose what we want to learn. Connect with oneself, okay. Connect with self, nature, non-competitive. Okay, use your own thinking. Okay, retain awe and curiosity. Okay. Right, what I want. So in freedom, I will say learn what I want, what I want. Right, so okay, it is individualized. We don't have to follow what others are doing. It comes from wants and not have to learn something. Okay. Let the child be child be child, and childhood. Okay. Yep. Okay, own pace and speed. Yep. Okay, let me add more points. I hope I'm covering most of the points. Okay, practical knowledge. Own pace and speed. Okay, own pace and speed and style. Maybe somebody mention how I want to learn. Yep, and self-directed. Okay, Jyoti is saying primary data research and secondary. So I'm not sure I've totally understood the data research part. Yeah, but we can act as enablers. Okay, no competition, no comparison. Yeah, self-learning does not restrict age, does not restrict in any which way. Somebody had also said freedom, so similar to that. Okay, EQ, IQ. Some of the points are slightly repetitive in the sense they're similar to, so I'm not typing everything again. Experiential, okay. Experiential, joyful. Right. Okay. I hope you can see all the points. If you feel that you had typed a point which is important and which is kind of not covered, may I request you to can just type it again, because in this whole barrage of chat messages, I'm trying to figure out what I have missed out. All right. Reason to learn, have my own, whatever. Reasons, okay, reason to learn should be mine. Yeah. Okay, not judgment, not judged based on marks and stuff like that. Marks, ranks. So judgment free. Yeah, need based, what I want to learn. Yeah. I guess we mentioned that somewhere. Yeah, want to and not have to. Right, individuality, individual way of learning. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think we have kind of more or less put most of the stuff. As I said, anyway, this group wants to do this. That is why you are here. So I doubt there's anybody here who's going to come here to thumb down unschooling or homeschooling. So yeah, this is fine. Right. Okay. So obviously this slide doesn't really warrant any questions. It's more of, unless somebody has a point against it. Okay, so this is what against it, not in terms of a doubt, but something that, okay, um, is just not possible in unschooling or open learning. Uh, is like uh, so something that you feel is totally out of purview of open learning and unschooling and homeschooling, and you think, yeah, that should be put across as a, let's call it a negative or a disadvantage of schooling. I'm not talking about concerns like social life and how to do this and how to, those will come under how to do it, because those are again needs of an individual. But if anybody has any point of, uh, somebody's saying my voice is breaking. Is it breaking for others or is it okay? Is it okay? Okay. Right. So what I think, Pratyush, you are mentioning, Jyoti, you are mentioning are just are just concerns which can be taken care. It's not by default that this has to happen, right? Um, right. So Nimisha, you're saying no competitive spirit, but I'm not sure. I'll give you examples of enough competitive. So these are, let's call them as concerns, and these could be individual concerns. See, when the problem is when we talk to homeschoolers, you're talking about their own individual experiences. So they could have experiences that way, but that by itself does not mean that unschooling or open learning cannot have competitive spirit, or that child is not among the age group or anything like that. All of these is uh, or not adjusting to social circumstances. All of these are points we will discuss. And as I said, they are not really negatives, because there are enough examples of children have no issues with any of these kind of issues. And we'll talk about that, how to take care of that in some ways. Okay, so let's move ahead, feeling good about ourselves that okay, everything is nice about unschooling, open learning, and it's a great thing, and that's why we are here. So let's feel good about ourselves and kind of move ahead, and let's see what are our concerns and questions, and see how they can be addressed, um, and not necessarily that these could be negative, right? Yeah. Okay, Tisha is also saying more stress on the parent. Well, I could say more joy for the parents, as the child and parent are more together in many different ways, not just physically together. So yeah, again, it's a matter of perspective. I'm not sure that itself. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. So we'll hang on. As I said, these to me are only concerns. I'm not sure that they are per se negatives. Let's move ahead and see. Um, So we have a slide which kind of captures more or less what you have said. Um, and I will share this presentation with all of you so you can look at these slides later on. I think most of the points which are there on this slide have already been covered by you all. I want to put up this slide, which to me the crux of open learning or unschooling is all about me being the leader of myself. Um, and that is really the big thing about unschooling, that I want to lead my own life. Why do I need to follow a system or a way while I am thinking differently? Which is something as a child I used to think, but okay, I wasn't offered unschooling, homeschooling for myself. But at least now I can offer that to my children and to other children. Um, Okay, so hang on with your worries and questions, and let's see how we can look at them. Uh, right. Um, okay. So the second category of thoughts is, hey, what kind of learning, curriculum, skills? So this is another kind of, okay. So if I'm deciding to unschool or homeschool, um, what kind of learning, what kind of curriculum, what kind of skills do children learn, and any questions related to specifically to this. So people can share based on your experience. You can come on mic. We can hear some voices also other than just mine. And yeah, and also you can share, hey, what kind of, let's call it, we're using the word curriculum just because that's what is used in the conventional sense. Right. So thoughts on what what learning, what skills, what do children learn? Yeah, this somebody's asking me, can I record the session? The session is being recorded. Yeah. But anyways, thank you for kind of a reminder. So the session is being recorded and would be put up on YouTube. So don't worry about the recording part. And I'll send you the link. Right. Okay. So learn by asking questions. Okay. Okay, this is more by how they would be learning. Okay, by asking questions, by observations. So we're more getting into how, but before we get into how, I'm more about um, what. What is it that children learn who are unschooling? This could help people who are not yet into unschooling or homeschooling and want to get into it. So they could be wondering, hey, do we just kind of run through the school curriculum, or what do we do? What do different people do? Okay, somebody's saying practical knowledge. Okay, maybe you can give some examples of what you mean by practical knowledge. Okay, somebody's saying mix of school curriculum and their own area of interest. So yeah, one option is somebody can still learn school curriculum and somebody can learn areas of interest. Now, so one person is saying mix of these, but you can choose only areas of interest, or you can choose only school curriculum. The choice is really yours or the child's. It depends on, yeah, you can also focus on a skill, on a particular skill. Okay, somebody wants to emphasize on critical thinking, empathy, right? Okay, so thinking skills, emotional skills, EQ skills, okay, right? They can explore potential in their area, right? Interesting. Somebody's saying more of livelihood skills than uh, than bookish knowledge, which would mean that we are more ready for the livelihood or more ready for the job. Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. More thoughts on what could children be learning? Okay, they could be learning how to learn or the process of learning. Process of learning. Okay. Okay, they're learning to exercise choice. Yes, decision making, exercise choice, self-awareness. Awareness. Okay, self-management. Okay, also learning logical thought process.
No, no, not video call. Yeah, don't do video call. Try to directly just normal Zoom call. You try again because the link is same. There are around 54 people are there. So I think the call is on.
Okay, logical.
Yeah, maybe we restart and then try.
Okay, somebody's saying both theory and practical.
I believe myself also in this session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what is interesting is some of you are more focusing on the softer part of learning, while some of you are talking about the practical side. And yeah, okay, Amar is talking now about the non-academic subjects. Yeah. So you can. So can I generalize it to you can literally focus on anything in life. Focus on learning whatever you want to learn. It is not obviously bound by academics, because once you are out of the loop, then there isn't any definition um, about academic, meaning there's no definition of academics as far as an unschooler or a homeschooler goes. Those are just the subjects which are taught in school. That per se does not neither mean that they are more important or less important. They are just some choices. Okay, they also have a lot of time to bond with people. Okay, that's very interesting. You've mentioned family. I've just generalized it to people because it's not just family. I can bond with whomever I want to bond with because I have time to do that. Okay, experiment. Yeah, yeah. Life skills, life survive skills. So this is very interesting. People are talking about livelihood, life skills, social skills, uh, spending time with people. So if this is what we can learn, then uh, then half the problems are gone, which people keep asking about. Okay. Um, I think I covered that. The difference between homeschooling and unschooling is only in the term, how you define, how does it matter? You please call whatever you want to call it. It all depends on how you want to do it. There is no one, there's no need for a definition. Okay, so a lot of life skills, soft skills, right. So one of the things that kind of coming out is that there is a lot of choice in what the child is trying to do or can do. And yeah, there is a lot of scope of self, the emotion ability. So that's this kind of slide that we have made, and you have actually spoken all of this. The key being that what is important to the child and the family. If certain subjects, curriculums, exam is important, they can learn that. If something else is more important, somebody was mentioning sports or music, then that is what they can learn. And obviously, uh, anything can be learned, right, as part of this. Okay, right. So the way we look at it is we've kind of made a visual analogy of um, that what in unschooling or open learning is like the whole world being, as in everything that is there in this world is available to us. I'm not saying it is not available to a school going child. It is also available, but obviously the time gets divided between what the school is demanding and whatever the child wants to learn. That is one huge advantage of open learning, is that the child can literally focus on whatever the child wants to focus on. There is no, let's say, division of time. Um, so it's the family's decision, I would say, rather than just the child's decision. Sorry, it's rather than the school's decision. So just to sum up, the second point is this whole view of looking at it as a as the world, right? Um, I think a couple of people are kind of raising their hands. Please don't do that. Please just use chat. If you have a question, ask. So if anybody has a question specific to this area of what is it that the child will learn, right? Some people have written uh, in the form that you submitted as to what is the curriculum the child would follow. So yeah, I think yeah, it's completely in the hands of the family, the child and the parents to sit and decide, hey, what is it that the child should learn, want to learn, would learn? Will it be a mix of academics and other things? Will it be no academics and only what the child wants to learn? Or will it be only academics? It really depends on you and the child. I guess that's the beauty of it. Yep. Any questions at this point with related to what the child should learn? Now, if you're going to ask, hey, how am I going to decide that? Well, again, there are many ways. Some people go purely on basis of what the child is interested in. Some go on the basis of, well, this is what you're interested in. Great, we'll follow this. But there are certain things which I think basic you should learn. What can be called as basic skills, like let's say reading or writing, basic reading, writing. I'm not talking about literature, but basic reading, writing, basic computational skills. So it will depend. You can have a list of some basic skills, or you may just follow a school syllabus kind of a thing, or you may sit together and design your own. And I think that the designing is not something which is going to be fixed in time. As the journey goes, it will keep evolving, it will keep changing. As the child grows, the child will keep changing. As you observe the child more, it will keep changing. So it's not fixed in or etched in stone. So there isn't really a one answer or one curriculum that, oh, I can go to XYZ place and just download it. So that is, I guess, the reason to move away from uh, the conventional schooling is that I don't want that. I don't want to just blindly follow it. Okay, Ratankar, your question is more related to job and career, which is question number 5. We'll come to that little later as to what happens with respect to job. And in some ways, if you're saying, hey, the child can learn anything, but then anything can lead to a job. You take anything in this world, anything can pay. I can do carpentry and earn out of it. I can write poetry and earn out of it. I can do anything. I can do statistics and learn out of it. I can read, I can be a trekker and earn out of it. So there's no limit to what you can earn out of anything. Okay, Soumya, this is a very interesting question. She's asking, what age do children learn how to read and write? Well, in a conventional education, they start pretty early. In unschooling, homeschooling, again, depends on you. You can follow broadly two approaches. One is you can start early and kind of expose the child and kind of get into some reading, writing kind of activities, or you can let the child lead and let the child decide when the child is ready to learn how to read and write. In my own case, in our case, we let our son decide when he wants to learn how to read and write. And he learned it at around 8 years. Till 8, he was very comfortable not knowing how to read and write. At around 8 years, he wanted to learn how to read and write, and then it didn't take him too much time to quickly pick it up. So again, if you want it to be led by the child, then the child will decide, um, uh, you know, child can decide when and how to learn. Right? Okay. Right. Let's move ahead to what resources, um, what are the kind of resources, people, support, exposures. Right. So I think, Deepti, your question is answered in this one. You're talking about how will the child choose something which the child is not exposed to? Primarily, that is what we are asking. So how do we go about exposing the child? Okay. So one question is to do with special child. So Muthu Kumari, I think the whole reason for doing unschooling or homeschooling is not to compare the child with somebody in conventional schooling. If we want to compare, then we might as well put the child in conventional schooling. Right? The idea is to let the child evolve as an individual, as a unique person without any comparison, just like how I'm assuming me and you wouldn't like to be compared with anybody. Right? So I guess if you are taking the child out of the school, letting the child lead his learning and then still comparing, then that's perhaps the biggest disservice we can do to the child. Even within the schooling, if you compare two children, that itself is horrible. As in horrible for the one who is being compared. Right. So I'm not too sure if that's the whole idea of unschooling or homeschooling or open learning. Right. Murray, I'm not sure I understand your question about changing what? What you want to change the board? See, pretty much most boards, most curriculums, still the subjects are the same. So if you're changing a board, how does that matter? If you are going to follow a particular board, if that the is your idea of homeschooling, that you want to follow a particular board and later on change it, it is as good as anybody changing a school and saying I'm changing a board. So okay, so let's come back to exposure, resources. Okay, so Abhi is saying he has to be exposed to all fields. Well, that's not practically possible, Abhi. The idea is to see. Let's pause for a moment and think that the child in today's world, with all the media, with all the uh, you know available options to the child is already quite exposed. It is not that the child is living in some well, doesn't know what his outside world is doing. Now the child is very, very aware of lots of different things. Possibly child is aware of more genres of music than I am aware of. Well, possibly the child is aware of all kinds of different kinds of, let's say, arts and crafts, which I am not available. Right. So let's not too much worry about, but yes, let's think about, hey, what are the different ways in which I can expose the child? What are the different kind of resources I can offer the child? Yeah. Um, and Mm, and I'm sure the child will get exposed, and not that me and you are exposed to everything and anything. Even at this age, we are not exposed. So out of whatever the child is exposed, obviously, um, the child will choose what the child likes to do. Okay, Aruna is asking, are in college automatically comparing when they select student? Well, I don't know whether they are comparing, yes, but they are setting some ways of selecting students, yes. So if you want to get into a college, yes, you have to get into that mode of how can I be better than the others. But again, the choice of unschoolers, homeschoolers is that why do I necessarily have to go into a college? It all depends on what do I want to do in life. If I want to go to a college, well, the college are structured in such a way you're choosing something where you will be at least compared at the time of selection and maybe compared at the time of job placement and stuff like that. But by itself, it's not about comparison. Yeah. Okay, let's little come back. I'm still looking for some responses. Okay, how do we? Somebody's asking, how do I procure books? But please go ahead and procure books. They are available online. Bookstores have books on all kinds of topics. Libraries. So you know, I would say don't even procure books. Go to libraries. There are so many libraries in most cities. Let's explore libraries, and let's see on each topic how we can learn from a lot of different books and not just uh, textbooks, so to say. Okay. Also, I think a lot of these questions, a lot of your questions are coming from the point of view of boards. I want to step back and ask ask you to think, if the whole idea is how to get to the board, then are we really sure we want to get into unschooling, homeschooling? If that is what is our real big worry, if boards are the big worry, then I would say let them be in a conventional system. I think that's easier, right? I'm not trying to because the school is anyway taking care of the books, the various things that the child needs to do. So I think let's pause for a moment before we start asking how will you get the boards, how will you get to this subject, that subject. Let's pause and say, hey, do we really want that? And if that is what we want, then why are we thinking about unschooling and homeschooling? Right? And then we start thinking, okay,
Hi,
yeah,
Maria here. Regarding the board, my question is, it might be silly, but I don't know. The thing is, isn't it mandatory to write the 10th exam and 12th exam, which is why I am even thinking on choosing a board and stuff. If that's not needed, then it wouldn't be an issue, but I'm not sure if
not
that's
needed for what?
mandatory to get a career and life, to get a, to write an entrance exam, get into a university. Is that, I
Okay.
mean, is the
Yeah.
12th like
Okay. Okay. So,
scores and
just
stuff
hold
needed?
on.
Yeah.
So everybody who is thinking about board exams, just hold on. It's just 2 slides away, few slides away. We'll talk about board
Okay.
exams, right? Let's not
Fine. Yeah,
let's
sure.
not hijack this point. Somewhere we've kind of little got digressed, right? But let's go back. How can somebody learn carpentry and theater? Well, you can go to a class, yes. So you can go for workshops, yes, but you can also just do it on your own. It's not very difficult. Um, you can also do it with people uh, uh, who are doing whatever you like to do. If you like to do carpentry, just go and work with a carpenter, or find a neighbor or somebody who does carpentry. Yeah, yeah, do it DIY. Look up YouTube videos. Yes, look up what. So there's so many options, right? Um, so when one is thinking about, hey, how will my child learn something, there are so many options, and I really want to talk about this option of people, because there's so many people doing so many different things. And if you approach people and say, hey, can you guide my child, almost everybody um, can say, yeah, everybody will say, yeah, I can help your child if your child is really interested in um, uh, you know, interested in what I know. So let's connect with more and more people, right? So resources is not just books. Resources is obviously the biggest one is internet, because internet has suddenly brought a whole lot of resources inside our homes. It's very easy to access, right? And in the same way, the people. So if you combine the people around you, right from neighbors to shops down your street to you know all the people that you know in your social circle, to all the workshops that are happening in your cities, to all the professionals that are available in your city. Oh, there's a whole lot of people out there. So if you ask me, I would say people, people, people. I mean, just look for people, and for depending on what the child's interest is, you will find people to guide you. And not necessarily you need to know. What is really important is that the child is interested. Okay. What else? What else kind of, see, already people are offering support right here. All right. So you can use, yes, you can use social groups to find people who can help. And in today's world, the person doesn't even need to be in your city. The person could be sitting in Singapore, in Canada, and can guide you over Skype or over a Zoom call. Uh, so it's not too complicated. In fact, given that there are libraries, given that there are museums, given that there are a whole lot of government establishments, right from science museums to art museums to natural museums to zoos to wildlife sanctuaries, you name it. So if the third thing I will put after internet and people, or people and internet, is travel, there is travel doesn't necessarily mean you have to travel to other cities. Travel within your cities, travel to different places, uh, and yeah, travel to other cities if required. Travel to Aarohi, come to, so you can go so many places and connect with so many different people. Okay, Uday Shankar is saying how to handle when the child's interests keep changing. Isn't that a great news that the child's interests keep changing? The idea is not to have a static fixed child. The children are not designed that way. They're designed to be explorers. They want to do lots of different things. They may be interested in one thing today, and then they will move on. This is precisely the way they will find out what is their deeper interest over a period of time. And even when they grow older, adults and even further, uh, it may be that the child still doesn't find one thing. The child keeps moving. I know so many people who have changed not just their jobs in so many years, so many times in few years, but also changed their fields. So it's all right. It's all right to be not necessarily sticking to one thing, even as an adult. As a child, so definitely that is the basis to find out what I'm really interested in. And that is the journey the child will can only reach once the child finds it. And if again the whole idea is, are we in a hurry? Do we want the child to be in his 10, 12, 14 years, find out what is he? No, come on. We can be more, we can relook at this whole anxiety or this desire that the child should find something big, passion in very soon. Not at all. In fact, I can give you example of my daughter. She's 21. She has not given any 10, 12, any board, any college, nothing. Okay. And she had so many interests. She still has so many interests. And it's so beautiful that she has so many interests, and she keeps focusing on one and keep shifting and keep adding and keep changing. And she's exploring. And at 21, I say to her, well, go ahead and explore more. What's the hurry? Why are we trying to find one thing? Uh, you know, and as and when you find it, your journey in that area will start. If you don't find it, and if you want to uh, explore multiple areas whole of your life, that's also fine. So I'm not sure that we need to be too much anxious about one aspect only. Yeah. Let's enjoy learning with them. Let's enjoy observing them. Okay. Right. So this slide kind of summarizes what we have been talking about. Travel, internet, day-to-day resources, people around. a lot of unschoolers actually don't spend money on buying things, but they upcycle, recycle, pick up a lot of stuff. I know of a child who would go on this e-waste dustbin and empty the dustbin and then take out things and then make stuff out of that. So, so yes, absolutely, people can. Uh, there's no dearth of free resources. Believe me, you ask anybody around, hey, who has a musical instrument lying unused, and I'm sure somebody will lend you one, and so on. So we don't even need to buy one. There is so much we can just share and borrow and so on. Um, you know. So to kind of summarize this point, what we are saying is that once the child's interest, once the child is saying, even though it might be a short-term interest, a long-term interest, that does not matter. But what is really important is if the child is interested in doing something, um, then there is no real problem. The child himself or herself will figure out. Plus, we are there to support the child. The parents are there, and I'm sure even the extended family can support the child. Right. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. Right. The other set of question that comes is, hey, what kind of schedule I do put across? What kind of a learning plan? What kind of an environment? Um, okay. Sorry. Saurabh is asking, why school teach grammar? Why is that important? I'm with you, Saurabh. I've never figured out why I teach grammar. I don't think there's any need to teach grammar. You learn grammar, or rather any language, by listening to it, by reading it. The more the input, the output automatically becomes refined. But anyway, if somebody wants to learn grammar, again, there are infinite resources available. Okay, so Soumya is sharing, it is just continuous. They haven't planned anything. So a lot of people follow what continuous, or can be called as organic approach, where there is no major planning. You just go follow the child. Can I call it follow the child? Right. So that itself can be one approach, that we don't really have a fixed uh, okay. There's no plan is the plan. Yeah, that can be a plan, right? Um, but there's no harm in having a plan. So that is one way of looking at it, that no plan is a plan. Follow the child. Another could be that we can have short-term plans, not big-term plans, not like 5-year plan, but we can have a weekly plan or a daily plan. Okay, this is what I want to do today, or this is what I want to do it during this week, or this is where what all I want to achieve during like the day or the week. So you can have shorter plans without necessarily having bigger goals. It will also depend on what the child is thinking about. If the child is saying in 5 years time I want to be a chef in a hotel, then maybe the child already has a goal, and then the child has to work backwards and say, hey, so for doing that, what all are my plans? So there's nothing wrong with having a plan, right? So you can plan short term, you can plan long term. All depends uh, on the child, or even depends on you, how you look at things. Okay, I think Abhijit is not able to join audio. Can somebody help him? Can you type in your number and he can call you, and maybe you can guide him, because I can't really stop the session and help him. Okay, so Deepthi, let me try and answer your question. When you say, I don't understand how the child can choose what he's not exposed to, let's take an example. Tell me one thing that the child is not exposed to, right? Let's say you're saying, is the child not exposed to music? Is the child not exposed to sports? Maybe you can say, maybe my child is not exposed to fencing as a sport. Obviously, if your child is not exposed to, which I guess most of us as are not exposed to, let's say fencing as a sport, obviously your child won't be able to choose it. But then do you realize that it's like practically impossible for everybody to be exposed to everything? Even within sports, forget everything else in the life, right? So the idea isn't to like, okay, sit with a list of all the possible things in this world and then say that we will expose. But yes, we can look at broad categories. We can say, hey, have I exposed him to music in journal? Have I exposed him to, let's say, physical sports in journal? Have I exposed him or her to languages and literature in journal? And if you want a nice, you can say, framework is what is called as multiple intelligence. So if you look at the 8 intelligences under the multiple intelligence, you can just Google for multiple intelligence and you will find, hey, okay, have I broadly exposed my child in areas of all of these 8 intelligences? Plus, I can offer you help. What we have done is we have created 9 maps. We call them as content maps. And those are broad areas of explorations. So those are there on our website. I can also share you, with all of you through the mail. And those can be used as broad categories of, hey, have I exposed the child? Or does the child is interested in any of those? Not obviously everything. Even within needlework, for example, there are at least about 30 to 40 different kinds of needlework. So obviously it's not possible for me to expose each one. Right? So I hope I've kind of uh, given you that let's look at the broader categories, and then within that the child can then see, hey, which one do I want to explore? The rest is the child's journey, because it's just not practically possible. Okay, so Ramya is asking about they becoming lazy. Well, we all become lazy. Let's start there somewhere. And I guess that is where you can look at, you can evolve your schedules. You can see the whole journey about unschooling, homeschooling isn't about child being an ideal person. Neither child is an ideal person, nor I am an ideal person as a parent. It isn't that I am not lazy sometimes, and it isn't that the child isn't. The idea is to now work as a team and understand each other, help each other, nudge each other, push each other, challenge each other. And which is why we are there with the child, which is why we don't need to be physically present the whole day, but even a little discussion, let's say by the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, as to how things are going, where am I lagging behind, where am I not, what am I able to do, what am I not able to do, what are some of the things which is stopping me, what are some of the things which is not stopping me. I guess all of this is also life skills. Also, all of this is all about understanding, hey, how do we live life? So it's not just yes, sometimes even we are lost as adults. Hey, what do I want to do in life? So it's not just children who can be lost, even we can be lost. That is the beauty of unschooling or homeschooling or open learning, is that we learn how to plan our own life, how to create our own goals, how to overcome all things like laziness, distractions, and so on, how we become self-disciplined. So self-discipline isn't something that I will achieve ever. It is a journey. Nobody is 100% self-disciplined in that sense. I'm saying about me and you, at least I'm not. Um, so so it's not a question of fixing the child or expecting the child to be perfect, but it's about seeing how we can co be co-passengers in this journey. Okay. Okay, there are a couple of people who are okay. Can somebody put in their phone number and help people who are okay? Okay, Purva is ready to help. Thanks, Purva. Okay, somebody's asking what's the best age to start. Well, actually speaking, Pratyusha, when the child is born between 0 to, let's say, 2 or 3, the child is being unschooled, isn't it? The child is just learning at home. There is no curriculum. There is no planning. There is no resources given. The child learns a whole mother tongue on his own, or the child learns a whole lot of life skills, a whole lot of body skills, a whole lot of sensory stimulation, gets the child to learn about science, about facts of the world around me, and so on. So if you really look at it, the child, the day the child is born, is actually a homeschooler, and that child does not need monitoring. At least the child doesn't need monitoring in terms of learning. The child is voraciously learning. Nobody has monitored their child as if, has my child learned the uh, mother tongue or not. The child just learns it on an everyday basis, and by the time 3, 4, the child is already speaking mother tongue fluently. So isn't that beautiful? So if you really start looking at it, according to me, uh, at no age the child requires continuous monitoring. What the child requires is people around him, people supporting him or her in what the child is learning or wanting to learn. So all we need is people around, and you are there, and the other adults or the other siblings in the family are all there to help each other.
Do you hear me speak, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is the first time that I'm getting into Zoom, so I wasn't very sure.
Sure.
So I do have one of these controversial thoughts and questions that has been there lingering in my mind for a while. There is the stress that is there in most of the structured schools to call a child with a certain disability or something or whatever, like a dyslexic or probably something, if they cannot learn English in a way in which the school would expect them to learn.
Sure.
Now that kind of spooks me no ends, simply because if someone can't learn music, why would they also be branded dyslexic as far as music is concerned?
Sure.
They won't be. But why this kind of a distraction towards English or so much of importance towards English? I don't kind of understand. If I can't dance, and I've never been able to dance all my life, and
Right.
I'm not certainly a dyslexic as far as a dance class is concerned.
All of us are dyslexic, sir. Everybody. Show me any one person, I'll show you what is wrong with that person. But that's not exactly. The idea is not to find what's wrong with somebody. The idea is to find what's beauty in somebody.
And there is a whole lot of system in most of these schools which tend to.
Okay, can I pause you? The idea is
Yes.
not really to see what's wrong with the schools. Let's not. This whole session is not about.
I
let's not
understand.
get into what's wrong with the school. Let's see how we can support people in this journey of unschooling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
how do we circumvent these hurdles is something that has been bothering me for a while.
Sure. And as I said, the unschooling journey is not trying to put down the schooling in any which way. That is just one option. Schooling is one option. Let's say unschooling, homeschooling is another option. We are not trying to say that is wrong or bad. We're just trying to say, hey, what can we do here, right?
Okay.
And let me answer Pratyusha's question. She's saying, what if the parent doesn't know how to create interest? But why do you want to create interest for a child to sit in a place? Pratyusha, child isn't designed to sit in a place. In fact, even I am not designed to sit in a place. Ask my wife. I keep moving all the time. So let's not try to. Why should we try to do that? Why can't we just let him be how he wants to be? When he gets interest to read a book, when All children like stories. You read to him. You tell him stories. This is what TV is so good at. They're so good at telling stories that we get totally stuck to the TV. That time we are not jumping around here or there. So let's start by connecting them with the books rather than getting them to read as a skill. And if they are interested in books, they will soon learn how to read. They will want to read because there is so many beautiful things to read in this world. It is the joy of reading that would want them to read, not interest created by some parent. And the joy has to come from inside the child. Right. So as somebody has already said, let's follow the child. Let's let the child lead by what the child is wanting to do. And if we are going to get worried and then go behind the child trying to create interest, then we are just going to end up creating more stress, both in us and in the child. And which is what I guess we have chosen not to do. We have chosen not to get stressed, but rather look at how the child can more organically learn. So one of the things that we give reasonable and fair amount of importance is not just planning, but more importantly reviewing. If I have thought of doing 5 things or 2 things, then can I at the end of the day review and reflect back? Hey, what worked? What did not work? What was interesting? What was not interesting? Where I need help? What is holding me back? And what are my strengths? Which is working? So this kind of a reflection and self-assessment, if we can create that kind of an environment in the homes, which is a skill I will use the whole of my life, right? Whether I'm in work, whether I'm in business, whether I'm self-employed, wherever I am in, right? So the whole idea is to kind of do things and then reflect back. And that is where I think the parents can play a huge amount of role in helping the child understand herself. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Pratish, I'm not sure I understood your question regarding the Montessori teacher. Right. Okay. Right. This is something that a lot of people seems to be asking a question about. What about exams, board, college, career plans? Yeah. So before we come on to how do we do as working parents and all that, which was a different question category. Right. So Ramya is asking, hey, if I want to do a course on economics, how do I do it without a 10th or a 12th? So Ramya, in my experience, as of today's world, things have changed. Maybe 20 years back, maybe what you're saying is right. Without 10th, 12th, I couldn't do much. But things have changed in the world. First of all, I can do an excellent course in economics online with the best of the professors, kind of videos and content, sometimes without even paying a single rupee, without having any credentials whatsoever. So first of all, let's not think that college is the only place where I can learn something. It's the same for jobs. If I am looking for jobs, I can get jobs not because I have a particular degree, but because I have a particular skill. If I can prove to people that, hey, I have this skill, people will take me. Maybe not, definitely not the government departments. They want a certain, you can say, uh, certification. But if you look at a whole lot of organizations today are open to taking, in fact, they're more curious. If out of the 50 application, one application says, hey, I've never been to school, college, but look at my work that I've done which shows to you that I am eligible for your job, I'm sure they will sit up and look at that guy first. Right. So I think let us review this. That is it really necessary? On top of that, if your child still wants to go to a particular college or a particular career which requires a particular exam, there is no stopping the child to give that exam, to prepare for that exam, to give that exam. Preparation can be done by self, with help of parents, neighbors, uncles, aunties, professional tutors. Everything is available. So giving exam is not so difficult. Okay. Uh, Getting into a college is not so difficult. Getting into a career is not so difficult, provided the child wants it. The issue would obviously come when you want the child to give a particular exam, or you want him or her to get into a particular college, but the child doesn't want to get. Then you have a problem at hand. For that, I don't have an answer, because then, then it's between you and your child. But yes, if your child is interested, there are so many people whom we have mentored who want to give exams, who went to, for example, we have a child here who wants to become a pilot. For that, he needs to give a 10th exam, because in India, the pilot academies require a 10th and a 12th. So he needs to give 10th and a 12th. So while he is kind of reluctant, but he knows that that's the only way for me to get into an aviation academy, because he wants to become a pilot. And because of that, he's now working. He's giving 10 this much. So so it is to be driven by the child, and it becomes very easy. Okay, let's take a few more questions. Right, so this is an interesting question. So the homeschooling or unschooling is not only related to schooling. So let me put that as the first point. You can actually unschool or uncollege. So you can unschool, then uncollege, and then you can even unjob if you want me to put that word also. Why not? Uh, first of all, everybody doesn't need to go to school. Everybody doesn't need to go to college. Everybody doesn't need to get a job. I can be self-employed. I don't need to write a job. As somebody was asking, what if the kind of interest the child has? Every interest can be monetized. There's a there was a joke that there was this guy who learned how to train dragons. Now, what job will a person find, if there are no dragons around? Because he had learned how to train dragons. You know what he did? He opened a school called School of Training Dragons, and he started teaching people how to train dragons. Obviously, it's a joke, but the joke shows that if we are good at something, we can always find ways to monetize it, to make money out of it, to make a living out of it, which is not the most important thing. The most important thing is I am interested in that. So if you're interested in, or if your child is interested in, training the dragons, isn't that amazing? Because that is what really excites the child. That is what makes him or her relish living every day to the fullest. Right. So so a lot of questions coming, which actually can be answered by boards like NIOS. Yes, there is no age. You can you can go ahead and give 10, 12 at any time. Somebody's asking me to list a few companies. Okay, I can tell you a few companies. If I want to impress you, I will say Google has people who are unschooled. Apple has people who are, Adobe has people who are unschooled. Are you impressed? But that's not the point. I don't want to impress you. Because the idea isn't to get into the big companies. The idea is to do what I really want to do. I know of a 16-year-old who is totally unschooled, who is now working as a consultant to multiple companies, because he's good at, in his case, he's good at coding skills. So, yep, I know of a child who has been part of Aarohi, who is passionate about adventure, motorsports, cars, and he's now working with an adventure company. He has not given any 10th, 12th or anything, but he's working with them. And he's thoroughly enjoying because he's totally into adventure, motor racing, rallying, cars, and stuff like that. So if your whole, see again, let us back and say, is my whole idea is for the child to get a job in MNC and to get great marks or get into a particular college? In which case, I would really ask you, why are you thinking about unschooling, homeschooling? There is a beautiful conventional system out there to propel you into these kind of colleges and these kind of jobs, isn't it? So the whole idea is, when we step out of schooling, we are saying, hey, hang on. Everybody doesn't need to be in an MNC. Everybody doesn't need to be in a college. Everybody doesn't need to do the way things are being done by the world. We can unlive our life, you know. We can be out of many systems and enjoy doing what we want to do if that is what we want. Why even think about career? Why we not thinking about living life doing what I like doing? And I'm sure we can live life doing what we want to do. I'm not saying conventional system is not flexible enough. I'm saying it is flexible enough. The problem is we haven't approached it. We haven't gone and knocked on the door of the conventional system and said, will you take my child who has learned so and so and so on his own? He hasn't got an exam. Will you take him? Try it out. And I can give you example. My own daughter, again, she wanted to do a course. She wrote to Azim Premji University, a particular course. They said you have to be a graduate. Forget graduate. She hasn't even done 10th. But she said, okay, I don't have a graduation. I don't have a 10th. I don't have a 12th. But this is the work that I've done. This is my interest. This is why I want to do this particular course. And they said, okay, you can do the course. So I think it's a question of asking. It's a question of figuring out how my child can learn. Right? I don't need to learn business just by going to an MBA school. I can learn business by being with a businessman, by being an apprentice, by being an intern, by somebody with somebody who is actually doing that. I know of a person who is now a very sought after builder architect, and he has not done any architecture. But and he has worked with mud, and he's now uh, he's into many projects. But his expertise did not come from any university. His expertise did not come from working with anybody great, but his expertise came by doing stuff with his own hands. What everybody was talking about just half an hour back, practical knowledge. So I'm not talking about exceptions. I'm talking about the unschoolers and homeschooling is the reason for me to find the life that I want, and not necessarily jump onto the very rat race that I'm wanting to jump out of. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with joining an MNC. All I'm saying is, if I want to join an MNC, why shouldn't I just go ahead and do an MBA and join an MNC when they are the ones who kind of ensure that it's much easier to do that? Okay. So you can go through NIOS, you can go through IGCSE, and please, I'm not right now addressing questions about NIOS, IGCSE, because their websites are there, and if you Google for them, there are enough people who have done enough documentation about what are the constraints, what are the good things, what is good thing about an IGCSE, what's the comparison between the two, and so on. So the idea is that, hey, what do we want? An idea is what the child wants. It really depends on, I would say, what the child wants. And yes, the family wants, if you want me to put it that way. But the options are all there, right? Just because we do unschooling or homeschooling, um, the options don't close, right? If you don't want to give exams and degrees, you can be self-employed, you can be an entrepreneur, and you can join companies also. Right, Ramya, the goal, when is the goal clear? There are people, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, they don't have their own goals clear. Are we expecting too much from a child at a very young age to have his goal clear? Can we wait? Can the child explore things? Can the child do something for 6 months, do something for 3 years? And I'm not even talking about a young child. I'm saying 18-year-old, 20-year-old. Can the child explore? Why not? Okay. So Nimisha, I have 2 points to your question about what if the child questions me in the future. Number one, the child can question you any which way. Even if you put him in a conventional school or her in the child can question, why didn't you unschool me? What will you say then? Will you say just because everybody else was doing it, I did it? Will that be your answer? So is it just about numbers? So the child can question anything. We are taking choices. We are doing things based. The child can question anything. Why are you living in India? Why did you migrate to Canada or migrate to Australia, and so on, right? So it's again, let's not go by that just because the child will question me. The child can even question me, question both the parents. Why did you marry each other? So it's not about the child question. The second thing, and perhaps more important, Nimisha, is that it is not about some distant future that the child will question. Here in unschooling, we question every day. We are working as a team. The parent is discussing with the child, is this what you want? Do you want to give 10? You don't want to give 10? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to pursue this? Do you want to pursue that? Do you want to try for a job? Do you want to be self-employed? What do you want to do? And this is an everyday discussion. So there is no reason why suddenly the child will rise after 20 years and say, why did you do that to me? No, we discussed it every day. It was an everyday reflection that we did. So we are in the journey as co-travelers. After reaching somewhere, the other person cannot say, hey, why did we come here? Well, that you should have thought about while we were doing the journey. And we were discussing this all along. So please realize, as I said at the beginning, it's a co-journey, it's a co-creation, it's a co-living. It isn't about just some one fine day we have decided, and now one fine day the child will rise and put a gun on my head. Why did you do this to me? Right? Okay. So let's see how we work in this co-creating of the life together. That's the beauty of it. Okay. Jyoti is asking, how long will the parents support the kids? That's your choice, Jyoti. You can say at 15, I don't want to support you. Please do some jobs and earn now onwards, or you can do that at 30. That's really your call. I cannot say that. It depends on you as a parent. It depends on what you consider as monetary support and so on. It really depends on you. But I personally think unschooling and doing it on your own is far, far cheaper. So you can support them longer. Think of the kind of fees you have to give for any institute, schools, colleges, especially postgraduate colleges, MBAs. It's amazing. Right. So questions regarding NIOS, I would suggest first explore NIOS website. There's a lot of information. Even if you just go to YouTube and type NIOS, or you will get lots and lots of. So I will not be spending time on NIOS or IGCSE in this session, because there's already so much information available. Okay. So Bharti is asking, is the exposure limited with parents? No, as we already talked about on the exposure slide, the exposure is not at all limited to parents. It's everybody. If you are an unschooler, for you, everybody is a resource. Every uncle, aunt, child that you know, every neighbor, every guy, the guy who runs the shop down the road, anybody who creates a YouTube video, who writes a book, everybody is your friend. Every book that I read, I'm reading about somebody else's mind. So that's an exposure. Okay. Let's come to this slide. A lot of people have been waiting for this for some reason. Let me first ask people here, what do you think? what about social skills? So how have people here who are homeschoolers, I would like you to answer this question on my behalf. What do you think about this whole thing, about people thinking, a lot of people thinking that, hey, social skills, will he get isolated? Will he be he's only with the parents? What do you think about it?
Hi, Ratnesh, Swati here.
Yeah.
So my son is homeschooled, and I have a set of volunteers who come and play with them with him. It's a part of like a very holistic program that we do for him. Uh, but I personally don't feel that he misses anything in terms of like a social skill. But there's a constant pressure from like my families or relatives that if I don't send him to school, he miss out on social skills, which I really am like always doubtful about. But I personally feel that he doesn't miss out on anything. Social skill doesn't only happen with children in the school. Social skill is like being with another human being, irrespective of their age or gender or anything for that sort.
Yeah. Yeah. With another human being. I like that very much. And yes, we think social skills is only to do with the children of my age, but that's not really true. Social skills can develop with when I'm interacting with any other human. In fact, it can even develop when I interact with pets. But okay, let's stay with other humans. So social skills to do with any other human being. Having said that, you can always find ways for the child, or rather the child can find ways of connecting with other children. It could be children in the apartment, it could be children down the road, it could be children in another uh, uh, park, or it could be children in another workshop or a class that I attend. Uh, it could be with cousins and relatives. So the list is long. I don't know why we are only stuck with that, as if in school all of us develop some great social skills. If we look at all of us look at social skills of all the people around, is it that the school created those social skills? In fact, a lot of time in the school, we have no time for social skills. It's one class after another class. Where is the time for social skills? Before the schools, in the recess, after the schools? Well, most of the social skills, I would say, is built in the evening when we play with our friends, even with our school friends, when we go over to their home over the weekends. So if we are really worried about social skills, let's look at options of the child spending time on the weekends, in theater classes, in the evenings, uh, with neighbors, and as somebody has already pointed out, with all ages of people, with all kinds of children. Why only children of my age? Why not children older, younger, wherever? So it is, and again, I'm questioning the very importance given to social skills. It's all right to be an introvert. It's all right to be shy. It's all right to be how I am. And just because, I don't know, why is it so important to have social skills? And what are these social skills are we talking? Is it about talking to other people? Is it about connecting? Is it about making friends? Well, not everybody had great friends in school. Some of us had great friends in school. That doesn't stop an unschooler to have great friends in his apartment or with another homeschooler or with a cousin and so on. And in fact, when the child goes to another interest-based class and make friends there, then the friendship is better because it's interest-based. I kind of agree with Bhati because when a child is going to school, the child is only limited to being exposed to children of his age, while a non-schooler can have a very wide spectrum of ages. Okay. Aditi is reminding me that time is 10:30. Well, we have a couple of more points to cover. So I think I personally feel this is, first of all, an over worried aspect that, oh, that the social skills will not get developed. I haven't seen that social skills missing in children. And I see children even in school, even if I remember my school, that school itself did not teach social skills. And at the end of it, social skills are not the most important skills. Not necessarily. People can develop social skills at any age, in any which way. People who are quieter as children can become very outspoken as adults. People who are very outspoken as children can become very as adults, and so on. And it's all keeps changing. So there is no worry. A child can learn social skills at any age whatsoever, if the child wants to develop those social skills. Yeah, I would still go ahead and say homeschoolers' children have as good social skills as any other school-going children. But the worry is only a created kind of a fear by people, which I don't know why they think like that, for whatever reason. Possibly because they have not interacted and done this, because it's a kind of, and that is what makes people fear this. Okay, so very quickly, what could be my role? And this is the area where also people ask about work. Sorry, I think I got signed out and I've just joined back. Sorry, can you hear me now? Right, okay, thanks. So we moved on to this slide about facilitation. And what I want to say here is, one of the questions people ask is, hey, what if both parents are working? Well, first of all, I think it's not about both parents working or not working. In any case, when all of us work, whether we work at home or let's not look at if both parents are working. Well, all you really need to do is find how you work with the child. Obviously, if the child is small, child will need somebody at home. Okay. If the child is older, maybe the child won't even necessarily need that. But what is really important is, how can I give the child that companionship, that relationship that the child needs? It is not necessarily that the child needs a lot of time. What the child needs is something else. Is needs a way to connect with the parents, even if it's uh, not necessarily for a long time. Right? This companionship, this relationship is what is really important. And the most important thing is, as a parent, I don't need to be an expert in an area. I don't need to be expert in English or maths or science or carpentry. Nothing. There are enough people. What I need to do is to understand the child and see how I can guide the child, and that is what will really help the child, uh, irrespective of what I'm doing. Even if I'm a at-home parent, am still working. There's still a whole lot of things that I need to do at home, isn't it? So let's not look at it as both parents working. Both parents are always working. In fact, let's look at, if there are two parents and one child who is being unschooled, let's look at three people working. And just like how you will think about your day and week and do the work, and how between you and your spouse you will adjust and create things for your family, in the same way the child will also figure out, and you together will figure out how logistics can be taken care, how the child's needs can be taken care, and so on. It's not very difficult, because it becomes important to you that the child has become important, the child's learning journey has become important. You don't want to outsource it to, let's say, just a school and say, hey, you take care, I'm not going to do anything. No, I want to be very involved with the child, not just, yeah, okay. So yeah, any questions about my role, about time, expertise, working parents? If you still have a thought, question. As I said, the way I look at it is, when I'm unschooling or homeschooling, I'm saying, hey, I am giving child and child's learning journey a lot of importance. And that itself is a framework. It's a frame of mind. And that frame of mind makes me figure out, how do I guide, mentor, help, support the child, what the child needs. And I think that becomes more important. should be, I'm not sure I understand your question. It is meaning whether you're homeschooling or you're not homeschooling, you still have to find time for yourself and time for your child. That's that's something that you have to work out. Even if you know, even if your child is going to school, you may still not find time for yourself if you're working and then you come back and your child is at home and so on. I think that's something you will have to figure out. How do you? In fact, I think children who are in unschooling and schooling, homeschooling, or open learning, they very soon start becoming very independent. They know this is what all they want to do. This is how they want to do. In fact, they free you up more than school going children, because school going children, they when they get homework, they think now that the parents need to help me, or because they're all the time being told what to do. And they're not doing things because they want to do things. They're doing things because they've been told to do things, as opposed to unschooling children who are doing things because they want to do something. And because they want to do something, they can be very independent, and that can actually give a lot of time for you to be doing what you want to do, what you are calling as your self time. So I would say it's the other way around. You would have a lot of time. And as the child grows older, depending on how old the child is, right now, as the child grows older, the child gets more and more independent. And yes, while you are still together in the journey, while you still have your daily discussions, reflections, and so on, so the quality time is there, the time spent understanding each other is still there. But in terms of quantity of time, well, you can, it need not be so much. You can even do it over phone. So I look at myself as a parent is that I'm not so much a parent, but a resource for the child. The child can use me as a facilitator, as a peer, as a support, as somebody to bounce off ideas with, and so on. Right. So yeah, I'm sure it's just the beginning of the discussion. And while I'm sure I've not been able to answer or respond to a lot of questions or points that were raised in the chat window, I hope broadly we have been able to cover some aspects of homeschooling and unschooling. What I would like to end with is, one is an invitation. Please come, stay with us, see here how we work, how children work here. Possibly that will give you an interesting perspective into unschooling, and you can interact with children, you can interact with us, you can interact with the whole community. So this is like a personal invite to all of you to come and visit and stay with us. Come with your child. That's the beauty of uh, how we work, is that any family is most welcome with the children, everybody staying here. Um, so the second thing is, if you are not able to come but you still have questions, which I'm sure you have, feel free to use email, feel free to call us. We have also created some social groups. We'll be sending you the link. You can join those groups and put your questions there and take help of a wide range of parents from different cities, of different ages of children, with different experiences, homeschoolers. So let's learn from each other. No one person is an expert. Nobody's trying to say that I know better. Everybody's trying to support and help each other, and that's the beauty. So just go to our website and see the visitors page, and you have a calendar there, and you can see how you can come and be here, which dates are available. Okay, Nimisha is asking, is alternative schooling different from open schooling? Well, yes. In open schooling, open means we don't bind the child by any curriculum. While typically, if there is, let's say, a Waldorf method, the very moment you use a method, that means the method prescribes certain things. So then you follow the method. In open schooling, you follow the child. The child is open um, to decide what the child wants to do, how much the child wants to do. So the child creates his or her own structure rather than some other method creating. So yes, definitely open schooling is different from some of the methods. Also, many of the alternate schools still follow the standard wise curriculum. So then they are not really open schools. They are more of just alternate schools because they do the same learning in different ways. Yeah. Okay. Okay. One last question. Pratisha is asking. Now, Pratisha, I guess you need a visit to the NIS website. Then you will get a better idea. NIS is not the same as school at home. It has a lot of options, and you can choose, and then you can plan when to give exams, and you can spread out your exams. There's so many options. So please explore it more. I'm sure the NIS website itself is fairly educative, and if you Google more, you will get a lot of information. But it's not the same as doing school at home. There is far more options there. Right. Okay. I think we are way off in terms of time. Mm, thanks a lot. Many of you have been very, very interactive on the chat, and it's been amazing interacting with you all. I think we will now pause the session with the thought that we are not trying to say unschooling or homeschooling or open learning is easy. Just trying to say, hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of joy for the child. Going to be a lot of joy for us, and we both can have fun together. It has to be. It is a very intense journey for both the child and the parent. Um, so yeah, if you still have more questions, please send us emails. Please, you can even call us, and also we'll be connecting with you on social media. You can connect there.